fifth graders. We have arrived at the middle high school and I wanted to share a little tour with you. This is Mr. Dorman and I have arrived here at the building. This is the middle school entrance and you can see here the front of the building, which I'm sure at some point you've been to if you've come to Reese Elementary, but that is the high school entrance down there. And this is sort of the view of what of the front of our middle high building looks like. And we're gonna go inside and talk to Mr. G.
Well, fifth grade, this is your orientation for the year. Mr. Dorman has kindly been over to the building and we are gonna walk you through some spots and get you ready for the fall. So my name is Brian Galster, go by Mr. G. I'm the middle school and the high school principal, and you're looking at my office at the moment. This is a place where I love to work with kids. Sometimes people think this is a bad place to be. This is a good place to be. I look forward to maintaining some relationships with you, getting to know you. I promise I'll know every single one of your names by the end of marking period 1. That's a commitment that I make, and looking forward for you guys to come over. Mr. Dorman has given some questions that maybe you have that you'd like to know. And so, Mr. Dorman, what do you got for questions?
How long is lunch and recess?
Good question. Favorite subject for a lot of our kids. We relatively, I would say 12:30 to 1 is basically your lunchtime, which is the last lunch here. We have 9th and 10th graders go first, 11th and 12th grade, and then middle school. We'll see how I may stagger some things, but I would plan on a later lunch. The nice thing about that is our staff, your teachers next year, will allow you to bring some snacks in the room because 12:30 is a long time before you get anything in your stomach. So you can go outside. I've got a frisbee golf course. We've got a basketball court now. I don't know if you're familiar with our track football area, but that's where kids go with me. Sometimes you'll get, depending on what grade you are, you'll get to be in the gymnasium during this time. You can go to the LC, which we call that the LC. It's the learning community. You can go there for lunch. So lots of chances to get on some technology and hang out with some friends. Mr. Dorman will show you that LC here on the tour. Or you can just stay in the cafeteria. But to answer your question, Mr. Dorman, there is 35 minutes total, roughly a half hour, and then 5 minutes to get to your 6th hour class. It's in the afternoon. And once we get to the cafeteria, there are 2 different lines in terms of lunch. One is the main entree, whatever's the main entree for the day. The other side is kind of some a la carte things. That will be a change, and the kids seem to really like that come into the building. And so I think you'll have more options in terms of what lunch looks like. What's the next question, Mr. Dorman?
How do you navigate around the school?
Good question. How do you navigate around the school? Well, it may look different heading into the fall. We are planning on you coming back in the fall, but we may have to do some social distancing, and so that would determine different navigations. But I don't have just the 6th grade tucked in all by itself. I want you to get around the building as much as possible. There are times if you get art class, for example, you have to go to the art room, which is located in the high school. Those of you that are interested in band, obviously the class is in the auditorium, and so you do have to navigate throughout the building. I don't leave you just tucked away by yourself. But there is a middle school portion. How do you navigate the building? You'll pick up on that. We'll see how things go in the fall, but you should have no problem with navigating the building. We'll have an orientation, so we'll definitely walk you through. I think it's August 18th, and we will invite you and your family to come in, and we will navigate the building together.
You know, and to tie into that, Mr. G, are the kids in the higher grades going to be nice to us?
You know, it's the golden rule. If you're nice to people, they're nice back. Overall, I am always impressed. I've been a middle school principal in West Michigan, and I'm always impressed with the character of the kids here. So overall, I love the kids here. I think you're going to have a good experience with that. The older kids in the building really set the tone, the culture. You'll see how they treat one another, and that mentorship pays off there at the middle school level. So are people going to be nice to you? Absolutely. This is our passion. So I don't think you have anything to worry about. We haven't had any fights in the building for the third straight year. It's not a violent place to be. It's a safe place to be. I think we'll have our challenges in the fall with some of the things that are happening with the pandemic. I get this question a lot, Mr. Dorman. Hey, are we going to have to wear masks? I get lots of emails from kids. If that's what the policy is, we'll be wearing masks. I'm not ready to make that decision until we get further information from the state. But we are going to make sure this is a safe place for you. And I can't tell you how I believe you should be on campus here in the fall. And I'm planning on you coming right here on campus. First day of school, August 24th.
And so when we come here, where do we get dropped off and picked up?
Typically, if you're on the bus, you would get dropped off in the front of the building. There is a middle school entrance and there is a high school entrance. Again, that may change based on some protocol. If we're taking temperatures to get in as a point of entry, I'll discuss more of that when we get to the orientation once I know more. But in general, in the past, we have just, you would get dropped off in the front of the building if you're on the bus, and you would make your way towards the middle school, entering a specific set of doors.
So are the teachers, and I know we're going to hear from Ms. Hollis and Mr. Hurst later in the video, are they going to be nice to us? And are there other teachers you get
back to this nice question?
I know, they want you to be nice. They want people to be nice.
Well, absolutely. Mrs. Hollis is a lot of kids go to her room even before school starts. You know, she's a nice place to be prior to school beginning. But again, there's some expectations here. The older you get, the more responsibility we put on you as an individual. Mr. Hurst, very hardworking, very organized, detailed, oriented person, and he loves kids. He loves kids. Now, if you're not respectful towards one another, will you be addressed? Will there be some phone calls home? Will there be some adaptions going on to your behavior? Absolutely. Are people going to be nice to you? I don't know why that question keeps up. I have not had that as a concern with other kids, that they're not treated nicely here. So how about the principal treating you nice? I absolutely love kids. So I'm really struggling not having kids in the building right now. The quietness, you will see that I'm a kid person. That's a passion of mine, and I promise to treat you with respect.
So are they going to have two teachers, or is there going to be other teachers they'll have?
You get more teachers as you get through this place. You'll have primarily Mrs. Hollis and Mr. Hurst for your math, science, social studies, English classes. So those 4 classes, you will have a combination of Mrs. Hollis or Mr. Hurst. We do a reading course in general, working with that. And so Mr. Hurst or Miss Hollis kind of shift students around just so that you can have different friends in your class. But there'll be some electives. We have a flex thing, and that flex rotates throughout, and you'll have one of 8 teachers as your flex teacher. And we do some exploratory things. And the reason why we do that is so you, again, get to know the building and get to know some of the personnel here. So you will have much more than 2 teachers. Specifically during this flex time, you'll get a chance to get 8 more of those.
All right.
We're going to do a tour of the building, Mr. Dorman and I. Here's a tip for you. Mrs. Rice sits here. She's the secretary here at the middle school, high school. Mrs. Rice sits here. They know everything, and if you really need some help, these 2 ladies will reach out and help you. They are the first people you see when you come into the building, and so this is the office area. We shot the video from my office, which is just right down that hallway. So this is the office area, Mrs. Rice and Mrs. Wright.
So we are exiting the office and we're gonna walk down to the cafeteria. So this is where the high school entrance is that I showed you earlier. And then as we walk down the hallway here, you will see how things are. Now, this building is a big square. So you can go all the way around back to the main office just by taking right turns. Or I guess if you go the other way, it's left turns. But this is, if you've ever come to a basketball game or anything in the gym, this is right where you come in, and you can see they've been cleaning here. But here is the cafeteria. We have arrived in the cafeteria. Going to give you a quick view of the cafeteria, and then Mr. Gelster has some stuff to share. Mr. G.
Hey, your first question was about lunch. So here's our cafeteria. It's not set up currently like it normally would. We're doing some cleaning here, but you can enter this way for the a la carte sandwiches, salads, you know, your chicken sandwiches. Those are always on that half. And then whatever the main entree is. If we're having nachos for the day, you would enter the cafeteria on that side. So that's how to get around it. Some good news. Some of these tables you see, we are ordering new furniture for this area. So I'm looking for some booths and some high top tables, and I'm hoping to have those renovations done before you get here. You guys will be the first to check out the new furniture here at the cafeteria.
You're exiting the cafeteria, and this is sort of the corner that starts the middle school area. Down this way is Mr. Hurst's room. Down this way is the middle school area. So I'm gonna walk down there. So this would be middle school lockers. We're walking right beside the gym, and we're actually heading, if you keep going out those double doors, you actually go out the back of the building, which generally you don't use very often, but they're there. So if you need them for reference. So as we round the corner here, this is the middle school area. Now, computer lab, Mrs. Hollis's room, Mr. Shepard's room on the left side, and then on the right side, you've got Miss Piquel's room and the science lab.
I just wanted to show, we call this is certainly a middle school hall. We've got a science lab. Mrs. Hollis's room is down there. Mr. Shepard is next, Miss Piquel. They may not have all those teachers, but you can see our lockers. And I thought a locker question may come up. We put all the 6th grade on both sides of the hall coming down. And then we start with 7th grade lockers, and they wrap around, and then it goes to 8th grade. So if you had some concerns, hey, maybe I'm gonna get in between a couple of 8th graders that'll give me a hard time, your locker will be only with 6th graders. So there's actually a space between lockers that indicate where the 7th grade starts. So now your classes are not necessarily down there. You may have Mr. Hurst first hour and have to go to a different hallway, and Mr. Dorman's gonna do you a walkthrough. I think that takes up my portion of it. I look forward to meeting with you. Mr. Dorman, thanks for doing the walking tour. I hope this helps relieve some anxiety. Know that I'm excited for kids to come back in the fall.
Thank you, Mr. G.
Enjoy your summer.
Hey, future 6th graders. I'm Mrs. Hollis. I will be your ELA, math, and maybe reading teacher next year. I know a couple of you guys asked questions about lockers. You do not have to share a locker in 6th grade. That baby is all yours. And I know some of you were a little scared about having to learn combinations. The good news is that your lockers are right outside my classroom door, and I am awesome at opening up lockers. So if you ever need help, I am right there, and I will gladly help you open up some lockers. I am really excited to meet you guys in the fall, and I will see you next year when you're 6th graders.
Hi, this is Mr. Hurst. I just want to welcome the incoming 6th graders to the middle school. Last year I taught science, social studies, and a section of reading. I'm hoping you have a great summer. Please stay safe, and I will see you in the fall.
Exiting that area, you can see here that we've got the gym. Here's the gym where many, many different things go on. And as we exit the gym, I am going to walk down the hallway so you can see how the square completes itself. Once again, these are all middle school lockers right here. Mr. Hurst's room down to the left, walking by the cafeteria, the gym, and heading back up to where the office is. Right now you're looking at the middle school entrance, and you can see now we're actually walking by where high school lockers are, but it'll all be okay. And then as we round the corner here, you can see that way leads right back to the office. And that wraps up the tour. If you have any questions, please make sure that you reach out and talk to Mrs. Krieger, Mr. G, or any of the other teachers that are involved with the 5th through 6th grade transition. Have a wonderful summer, and thanks for watching.